Regular viewers of my channel will know that I occasionally put up examples of average driving around me when I'm cycling. You'll also be entirely surprised to learn that when I post them as shorts and they go to a wider audience, that I get some interesting comments about getting in the bike lane. The thing is, in every example, there is in fact no bike lane. By the way, if you didn't know that I do those sort of videos, well, don't be a stranger and hit that subscribe button. Now, given how confidently wrong people seem to be about what a bike lane is, I thought I'd do you a favour and answer the question, what is a bike lane? Now, an actual bike lane in Queensland requires three things. First is a bike lane sign and an end bike lane sign to show that that's indeed a bike lane. It also needs a clearly marked lane, usually paint, and it needs a white bicycle stencil, which is the bike lane symbol. This is a bike lane, but with cars parked up against it. Honestly, if you can park in a bike lane, is it really a bike lane? Most of the videos of incidents that have occurred has been in a street like this, not far from home. Not a bike lane, not a bike lane. If you look around, there's no marked bike lane, there's no bike lane signs, there's no bike lane symbols, there's no bike lanes here. So yeah, most of the incidents occur close to home. Now, I don't think it's because my neighbours are out to get me. Are my neighbours out to get me? The fact of the matter is that I ride basically every day and I leave from home. So these are the streets that I ride the most. Law of averages, you're going to have more incidents on the streets that you ride on the most. There's nothing particularly dangerous about this street design that's any more dangerous than any other street design in Brisbane. And most of them are dangerous because they're 50 kilometres an hour by default. I've done a couple of videos about how Brisbane can make its streets safer with 30k an hour limits. It's up there. Probably wouldn't apply to this street, but it's worth looking at. So yes, there are yellow bicycle symbols, and these are called bicycle awareness zones. And that's basically just to say that this is a street where bikes might exist, which is kind of pointless because every street that's not a motorway, cyclists might exist. So it doesn't mean you just overtake at whatever speed you want. It might mean you have to slow down. So putting aside the fact that there aren't any bike lanes in most of the videos that I'm sharing, there's an implication in some of these comments that if there's a bike lane in there, I have to use it. The law doesn't actually say that. In fact, the law was changed about 10 years ago so that you don't have to use a bike lane even if one exists. There's a whole lot of reasons why cyclists may choose not to ride in a bike lane. There could be debris, there's very often parking right wedged up against the bike lane, and sometimes there's even cars parked in them. So like, I'll do you a deal, motorists. If you really want me to use bike lanes, you stop parking in them. Deal?
Shout out to this driver who showed great anticipation to realise that there was a parked car in the bike lane ahead, so they hung back, let me go around before safely overtaking me once I was back in the bike lane. Good job.
Now, even if there was a road rule that said that cyclists had to use a bike lane, if you saw a cyclist not riding in a bike lane and you would rev up past them, close past them, honk at them or abuse them, I think you need to take a good, long, hard look at yourself. Every road user is human. Everyone makes mistakes, whether it's in their judgment or they get the rules wrong. And maybe sometimes you're thinking that a rule is true, which isn't. So don't get upset about people who make mistakes. Just do your bit to keep them safe and keep yourself safe. Now, in fairness, sometimes there's comments that aren't telling me to get in the non-existent bike lane. Sometimes there's comments like this that tell me to get on the footpath. Now, in Queensland, it is legal to ride a bicycle on a footpath, and sometimes that can be a really nice plan B when council or state government has failed to provide adequate cycling infrastructure. But pedestrians don't want us on the footpath, and cyclists really don't want to ride on the footpath. This is the Mermaid Reach of the Brisbane River, named by explorer John Oxley, who travelled past here in 1823 in a whaleboat from HM cutter Mermaid. There you go. when you pay a bit of attention to what you're sitting on, you learn something. Now, most bikeways in Brisbane are actually shared paths, and shared paths are, as the name suggests, shared between pedestrians, cyclists, and now e-scooters as well. They're symbolised by a sign which has a person walking on top of a bicycle, and sometimes that same marking is on the pavement. And sometimes there's an end shared path sign as well, but not always. Now, when we're using a shared path, everyone's supposed to keep to the left-hand side of the path, not block the path, but cyclists have to give way to pedestrians and keep them safe. And that makes sense. We're faster, we're bigger, we're more likely to cause some injuries. So while pedestrians are supposed to keep to the left of the path, sometimes they don't. They're just out for a stroll and they're not necessarily aware of where they are, and that's fine. As cyclists, we just have to go slow, ring our bell, say hello. Better yet, just wait until there's a safe time to pass and go around. Sharing. It's a bit like how we're supposed to share the road, isn't it? Where, you know, if a motorist comes across a cyclist, they shouldn't just hammer on past them and just be a bit patient. Fancy that. Now, the other style of off-road bikeway is a dedicated cyclist-only path. And this is signed with a sign that says, bike only. Imagine that, simplicity. And so these paths are paths that pedestrians aren't supposed to use, but sometimes they do. And as a cyclist, if you come up against a pedestrian that's on a bike-only lane, you don't just hammer past them, you don't try and scare them, you just treat it like a shared path. Slow down and pass when safe. Sharing really isn't that hard.
Hey.
G'day.
Morning.
Morning. People of all ages and abilities. So if you are confused by what is and isn't a bike lane and what all the signs mean and different coloured stencils, don't feel bad. Sometimes even the people responsible for putting the signs up don't get it. Now, weirdly, some people in the comments even accuse me of riding in the car lane. Now, you wouldn't see a car lane in any of my videos because the only car lanes that exist are motorways, and cyclists aren't allowed on motorways at all. But for balance, this is what a car lane looks like. It's over there. See it? Yeah, there. But just about every other lane on every other street and road is a general traffic lane. And while you might not like it, bicycles are traffic and they're allowed to be there and they have every right to be. You don't have a right to travel unimpeded at the speed limit and never have to slow down. You have to slow down for traffic, you have to slow down for other cars, and yeah, you have to slow down for cyclists and pedestrians for that matter. The streets are for people, however they get about. Now, of course, if you've got this far into the video or you're a subscriber, you probably already get this. You probably drive and ride a bike like I do. You understand that people are human, people make mistakes. People do get things wrong, and it's our job as a road user to sort it out. And if you feel like sliding into the comments and complaining about bike lanes or footpaths or registration, just don't. All it does is make you look stupid, and I don't like to shame people, but I will. Ride safely, drive rarely, and I'll catch you next time. That was a bicycle awareness zone symbol. Did you see it? See ya.